Aloha, my name is Tyler Mongan. I'm the founder of Yoga Numbers, and I'm also the author of a book called Yoga Numbers and a book called Lokahi Numerology. And in this video, I want to give you a brief introduction to Yoga Numbers, where it came from, and why it's different than other numerology systems. So back in 2006, I was in Arizona in the United States, and I was in medical school. And I was going to become a doctor, just like my dad was a doctor. But while in medical school, I started to study different types of healing systems and modalities. And one of the things I came across was yoga. Specifically, I came across Kundalini yoga. So I started taking some Kundalini yoga practices. And if you're a Kundalini yoga teacher or student, you're familiar with some of these. They're very energizing yoga. There's a lot of meditation. Sometimes there's chanting. And Kundalini yoga was started by a man named Yogi Bhajan who came from India. So I was taking classes in Kundalini yoga from a woman named Sangeet Khalsa. And Sangeet, she had spent many years traveling around with Yogi Bhajan and recording everything he said. And one of the things that she learned that he was talking a lot about, but never really teaching, was a thing called numerology. And he would use numbers to describe people and the meaning of their life purpose, some of their challenges, their gifts, places where they can improve and how to solve health issues, and many great things that you can learn from the numerology. But he never really officially taught a numerology class. And so my teacher was recording everything he said, and she realized that he had a system of numerology, and she started to teach that. Now, while I was learning about Kundalini yoga, I was also in medical school. And so my background was in science. I'm actually a published biomedical researcher. I wasn't really interested in numerology. I thought it was strange. I was very skeptical of it. But one day my teacher, Sangeet, asked me my birth date, and then she started to describe all these things about my life, who I was, things that I had never told anybody before, but I knew it inside. She was able to describe them, talk about my gifts, and even a little bit about my future. And one of the things she said was that I could travel the world and I could teach people something. I don't know what. She didn't know what, but there was something that I could teach while traveling the world. And in my mind, I thought that's ridiculous because I'm going to medical school, I'm becoming a doctor, and I had no intention of traveling the world and teaching. But I started to study the numerology more because I got interested in it and because it seemed exciting and new. And as a good scientist, I decided I would test the numerology out and try to prove that it was wrong. I never really wanted to just be right with the numerology. So I didn't try to convince people of it. I was trying to be very truthful with it. I said, this is what the numerology says. Does it align for you or not? And interestingly, it was very accurate. People got a lot of good information from it. Sometimes it didn't work quite right. Sometimes it was really even scary how accurate it was. And over the time of a couple of years of testing the numerology out, I started to feel more and more confident with it. I remember I was on an airplane flying to Hawaii. And this is after I had decided to drop out of medical school and not become a doctor. And I was flying to Hawaii and sitting next to this young gentleman who just seemed a little bit depressed, a little bit upset. And so I said, what's going on? You're flying to Hawaii, but you don't seem too happy about it. What, are you okay? Because Hawaii is paradise. It's a great place to be. And he said, I've just had a lot of troubles in my life. And he was young in his early 20s. He didn't really know what he was supposed to be doing with his life, didn't have a sense of purpose. And I said, hey, I do this numerology thing. Is it okay if I look at your birth date numbers and maybe give you some information about your life? And he said, okay, yeah, let's do it. We have 6 hours on a plane. Why not? So I started to look at his birthday numbers and read his numerology. And he didn't really say much as I was reading the numbers and sharing information about his life. But after about 30 minutes, he looked up at me and said, wow, that was so accurate and valuable for me. He said, it was more valuable than the past 5 years of psychotherapy that I've been going to. And I want to thank you a lot. I understand a lot more about who I am, what my purpose is, and why I'm flying to Hawaii right now. And after that moment, I realized that this numerology had a lot of value it could offer the world. Now, this numerology is a lot different than other systems, meaning that the numbers in the system and how we chart the numbers is specific to the system. So when I talk about a meaning of a number, it really only relates to this system of yoga numerology. It doesn't really relate necessarily to numerology in general. This system is a system that I've used all around the world. I've worked with people in Europe, Romania, Singapore, Germany, of course, Japan, Hong Kong, China. I've been down to New Zealand and Australia, all over the States. And I've given readings and I've taught classes, and it continually increases in its accuracy and value over time. I actually have a student who is based in Kuala Lumpur, and he's looking at the number system and putting it into algorithms and discovering that it can say a lot about when there is a high probability of death and when we might die in our life. He's looking at a lot of famous people who've died and creating some algorithms about that and getting a lot of accuracy there. So the system can be very accurate. But this system is also very fun to learn. It's also easy to learn. It's not that complicated. Within a short class, you can learn a lot about the system and a lot about yourself, where you can start to then apply it to your life and get a lot of value out of it. So it's a very easy system to learn. It's not so complicated, although it can get more complicated over time as you go deeper and deeper into the system. The other thing that's unique about this system is that, again, I've tested all around the world. So I found that it works regardless of the language barrier, regardless of the culture, regardless if you believe in it or not. I remember there's a gentleman I met in Greece, and I was at a conference in Greece, and he was a big time lawyer in New Zealand and many high profile clients. He didn't believe in numerology at all, but his friend was very curious in it. And so she asked me to look at her numbers. And while I was looking at her numbers, she said, "Hey, can you look at my friend's numbers, who's a lawyer?" So I looked at his numbers and her numbers, and they were close friends. And I said, "Hey, you know what? Based on your numbers, you both are almost like a mirror image of each other. And you're like the lawyer, the guy lawyer is a male version of you, and you being a female is actually the female version of him." And they started to get freaked out because they realized that there was a lot of truth there. They had always said they were exactly alike, even though they were just friends. There was a lot of similarities. And so I looked at his numbers again. Later, he said, "Hey, can you come look at my numbers again?" Because he got more curious. I looked at his numbers and I said, "You know what? I know you're a lawyer, but that's not really your job in life. Your job in life is to be a relationship builder in all kinds of ways. One-on-one relationships, group relationships, relationships with communities." And he stopped for a moment and he looked at me and he said, "You know what? Every day I tell myself that's what I do. I am a relationship builder. Although I'm a lawyer, this is exactly what I tell myself." So the numbers were able to reveal that unique insight about him. So this system, highly accurate, easy to use, easy to learn, really fun to learn, and something you can start applying immediately in your life. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you in a numerology class where you can start to learn the system, start to apply it in your own life and the lives of those around you, and hopefully create a better world. Aloha.